Hello class. Today we're beginning a brand new unit. We're going to start a unit on area. This is going to be a review of what you should know from 7th grade. But we're not taking 7th grade math. You went from 6th to 8th grade. So that's why we're going to come back and pick up some area stuff that you need in order to be able to do the 8th grade standards. We're going to talk about 4 figures today. We're going to talk about a rectangle. We're going to talk about a triangle. We're going to talk about a trapezoid. I'm not quite sure why they call it a trapezium, but it's just a trapezoid. And we're going to talk about a circle. Now, when we talk about a rectangle, you're also talking about a parallelogram because they're basically the same thing. So let's dive off into dealing with area. So let's first talk about a rectangle. Well, in order to find the area of a rectangle, there are 2 formulas that we're used to using. Okay, we're used to A equals length times width, but the one that you're going to find on your formula chart is A is equal to base times height. And this one also doubles as the parallelogram formula. Okay, now, this is a 4th and 5th grade problem turned into a 7th grade problem. Okay, so what I want you to do with this rectangle is find its area. Well, you'll notice that the length is 21 feet 6 inches and the width is 12 feet 9 inches. Well, we can't really type those into the calculator the way we would like to. So what we have to do then is we've got to do some conversions. So in this one, we've got to actually take the 21 feet 6 inches and convert it to a decimal. Okay, well, we know 6 inches actually represents half a foot. So 21 feet 6 inches will really be 21.5. Right? Now, a lot of people, one of the common mistakes that people want to do is they want to say this is 21.6. Okay, well, we can't do that because we need to remember feet and inches is based on the number 12. Okay? And our number system is based on the number 10. So since they don't go together, we've got to figure out how much of a foot this happens to be. So down here with 12 feet 9 inches. Well, the 9 inches is actually 3/4 of a foot. Okay, so that means that 12 feet 9 inches is going to be 12.75. So in order to find the area of this particular shape, we're going to first write the formula down. A is equal to base times height. I'm going to use that formula since that's the one that you'll see on your formula chart. Then I'm going to plug in my values. A is equal to 21.5 times 12.75. Okay? Now, doesn't really matter which one you call the base or which one you call the height because you're going to be multiplying them together anyway. And then you turn to your calculator and you type in 21.5 times 12.75 because we're allowed to use our calculators. And you come up with 274.125. And since we're dealing with area and I converted my numbers into feet, that's going to be feet squared. And the reason why we use feet squared is because we're dealing with 2 dimensions. Okay, so that's all you have to do to find the area of a rectangle is just multiply the base and the height together. Okay, but sometimes you may have to do a conversion. Okay, so you have to think that through. Okay, so let's go to the next shape. Okay, let's go to a triangle. Now a triangle, all it is half of a rectangle. So if I were to extend these lines up like that, you would notice that that is a rectangle. Well, a triangle is just half of that. So the formula that we use for a triangle is A is equal to base times height divided by 2. Or what you'll see on your formula chart is 1/2 base times height. They mean the same thing. Okay, now, in order to find the area of a triangle, we have to know one thing. This is a commonality between all shapes. Your base and your height have to be touched by a right angle. So if you look right here, we've got a base and we've got a height. Okay, now this height was a dotted line. Dotted lines are just showing you measurements. They're not part of the actual shape. So base and height will always be touched by a right angle. Okay, so we do the same exact thing. A equals base is 8, height is 3. Okay, you plug those in and you have to remember to divide by 2. So area is equal to 8 times 3 is 24, divided by 2 gives you 12 centimeters squared. Right? That's all there is to finding area of a triangle. Okay, now, the next one that we're going to do, the next shape, is going to be the hardest shape that we have. and that is a trapezoid. Okay? The trapezoid has a very interesting formula, and it's based on the parallelogram formula. Okay? And the formula is A is equal to, parenthesis, B1 plus B2 times how tall it is divided by 2. Okay? Now, the two bases, that's what this B1 and B2, are always going to be the parallel sides of a trapezoid. Okay? A trapezoid is going to have only one pair of parallel sides, and they can be the top and the bottom, like in this shape, or they could be the right and the left side. Okay? But whatever they are, we're going to look for the parallel sides. So in this one, we're going to plug in our formula. A is equal to, we take one of the bases, 28, take the other base, and we're going to add those together. And you must get an answer to that before you actually do any multiply or divide. Then I'm going to multiply that by how tall it is. It's 4 feet tall. And we're going to divide it by 2. So this again is where you go to your calculator and you type in the information. Now the way I like to do it is I like to do 28 plus 40 and then hit the enter key or the equals key to get an answer to that. So I know 28 plus 40 is really 68. So then I do times 4 divide by 2 and we end up with 136, and in this case feet squared. Okay, so that's how we do a trapezoid. So just remember, okay, your base and your height, just like I said with the triangle, is always going to be touched by a right angle. So this time the height is the distance between the two parallel sides. Okay, the last shape that we have to talk about is a circle. Okay, and the circle has a really easy formula. It's A is equal to pi r squared. Even though most pies are round, we still want them squared. Ha ha ha. Okay, so in this one, the first thing we need to understand is pi. Pi is our most famous irrational number. Okay, its decimal goes on forever, doesn't ever stop. Okay, doesn't ever repeat. Okay, so, but we do use a number to represent pi, which is a close approximation for what pi is, 3.14. So when we're working with area of a circle, the number we substitute in for pi is 3.14. And then we're going to multiply by the radius squared. Now what I'd prefer that you do with a radius squared is actually write it out as r times r. Okay, that will help make or prevent you from making careless mistakes. But for area, you must have a radius. So what does a radius look like? A radius is from the center of the circle, to the edge of the circle. That's what a radius is. There's also something called a diameter. And a diameter goes all the way across. And it would be 2 radii put together. We don't use the diameter when we're dealing with area. So if you're given a diameter, you must cut it in half. Okay, so in this one we have a radius of 7, so I'm going to do 3.14 times 7 times 7. And then I go to my calculator and I type that in, 3.14 times 7 times 7. And you find out the answer is 153.86, and in this case centimeters squared. Now you might have noticed I changed my equal sign to an approximate sign. Because I plugged in an approximate value for pi, my answer turns to an approximate answer. Okay? And that's how you find area of those basic shapes.